0 to 60 in the mid-5s, and it's a 3-row SUV. Yes, this 2025 Ford Explorer ST has a twin-turbo V6, standard rear-wheel drive in the United States, and a completely redesigned interior. But what I think it's trying to do is prove practical doesn't have to be boring. What's it like? Buckle up, my friends. Let's go for a drive. I'm your host, Brian Makse, racer, lover of driving fast, fun things, and on this channel, you get reviews for drivers from drivers. For various reasons, I've completely missed the Explorer ST, and I've been wanting to drive this for a really long time, and finally we get our chance to get behind the wheel, and it's been refreshed for 2025. And before we get into what it's like to drive, let's have a look at this in a little more depth. Mechanically, this is tried, tested, and true modern Ford Explorer, but with the all-important Ford Performance take on this. For 2025, there's a completely new interior and a slightly redesigned exterior, but what's interesting is that in the US, you can get your Explorer ST in rear-wheel drive as a standard configuration. In Canada, all-wheel drive is simply mandatory. Under the hood is a 3-liter twin-turbo V6 EcoBoost, makes 400 horsepower and 415 pounds of torque on premium fuel. It will run on regular, but if you want all the horsepower and all the torques, you need to put premium fuel in this thing. Transmission's a 10-speed automatic, and you can shift it manually. There are paddle shifters on the back of the steering wheel. Suspension calibrations are specific to this ST, done by Ford Performance, and there are upgraded brakes with red brake calipers as standard. Wheels and tires are 21s. Towing capacity is 5,000 pounds, and curb weight of this Explorer ST in all-wheel drive is a little over 4,600 pounds. Let's talk about what the Viofo A229 Plus actually captures, because specs are one thing, real-world performance is another. It's kind of like talking dyno numbers versus actual lap times. In daylight, the 2K resolution with HDR means you're getting every detail, license plates, road signs, and yes, the international gesture that you're #1 from the guy you just passed. At night is where the Starvis 2 sensors really show their worth. Unlike cheaper cameras that turn everything into a dark PS1 Gran Turismo scene, you can actually see what's happening. The HDR balances headlights and shadows better than most car cameras. Motion clarity is crucial for a dash cam because unlike your Instagram car spots, you're capturing things at speed. The A229 Plus keeps everything sharp, whether you're cruising on the highway or demonstrating why you should have opted for the carbon ceramics. And with dual cameras, you're covered from both ends, whether it's tracking a proper following distance or documenting why brake checking a heavier vehicle is a bad idea. You've got the footage you need, and brake checking is always a bad idea. A quality dash cam is like having a good insurance policy. You hope you never need it, but you're glad it's there in case you do. Plus, unlike your insurance policy, the Viofo A229 Plus might actually capture something worth posting on your Instagram. Did you know that 80% of you are not subscribed? Yes, it's true. 80% of you are not subscribed. I checked the data. So if you like the content on this channel, do me a solid, hit that subscribe button, make sure you like this. And if you want to support the channel, please hit up our merch store. Links here, links below. Lots of great stuff for driving enthusiasts like us, including our very popular line of Save the Manuals merch. Now back to your regularly scheduled episode. Behind the wheel, what we've got is a very modern Ford cockpit, and we'll get into that in just a little bit, but the fundamentals are right. Love the shape, size of the steering wheel, not necessarily a fan of the flat bottom bit. I know some of y'all like that. I'm not necessarily a fan, but love the shape and the size. The steering wheel encourages you to have your hands at 9 and 3, and I really dig this seat. It's a nice blend of comfort and support, and you do need some lateral support given what this is capable of in the corners. But really dig these seats, and on top of that, they're heated, cooled, and have a massaging function. You kind of have it all when you're behind the wheel of an Explorer ST. First level ergonomics are pretty straightforward. We have Ford's rotary style shifter as well as the drive mode selector. The instrument cluster is all digital. It's configurable, kind of changes with the drive modes, and then we have Ford's new digital experience, whatever they call this, which is their new infotainment system. And remember when car interiors had buttons? This has a screen bigger than my first TV. It's got Google built in, which means you can finally ask your car the same question you've been asking yourself. Why did I just spend 50 grand on a 3-row drift machine? I do appreciate this little bit, this shelf. So you've got a wireless charger on this side and then just a spot to put things on this side. And I kind of dig that. When I first got behind the wheel, I'm like, that's pretty smart. Really do appreciate it. But this system, not necessarily a fan of. Certainly, I like using it on Apple CarPlay more than anything else. But what this system means is a lot of the system controls are now in the screen, including the climate controls. And yes, they're easy to deal with. And yes, I run it simply on automatic, just set my temperature and forget it. But everything is here instead of being switches and buttons on the dashboard. This does have a Bang & Olufsen sound system, which I really do dig. It works very well here. They've tuned it nicely, and even for my race car abused ears, it sounds great. On the other hand, I do think there's some sound augmentation coming through the sound system. If any of you know for sure, please let me know in the comments, but I'm pretty sure that's what's actually going on here. It's not too intrusive, and maybe it's switchable. I haven't bothered to dive into the settings to see if it is switchable, but it doesn't sound bad. And of course, this is a V6. It doesn't sound like a naturally aspirated V8, that's for sure. In terms of spaciousness, well, it's a 3-row SUV. There's lots of room here in the front row. You and your passenger, very comfortable. Tons of storage in here as well. And I think all of the space is well appreciated, certainly by the front seat passenger and the driver. The second row, lots of space back there as well. No problem getting comfortable. In that third row, well, a couple of years ago, I did put an adult-sized human in that third row, and they didn't complain too much, but it's best reserved for children. When that third row is up, those seat backs are up, there's a little bit of space under the hatch, but I would never really use the third row anyway. Keeping the seats folded flat, there's tons of room under the hatch. There's a little bit of storage underneath the floor in the back as well. This Explorer ST is having the automotive equivalent of a millennial identity crisis. It's got a performance badge, but room for 7. Track-tuned suspension, but USB ports in every row. It's like someone at Ford said, you know what would make minivan life better? Lap times. Yep. Acceleration is impressive. This is a big 3-row SUV, and it is quick in a straight line, but that's really not the entire story here. What I do find remarkable is how well refined this drivetrain is. Yeah, we're in manual mode. Maybe we're going to switch that off now. But the transmission works beautifully. It's perfectly paired to the EcoBoost V6, and it works very, very well together. And I'm sincerely impressed with how well resolved it is. These paddle shifters work exactly as prescribed. On downshifts, it'll do a little rev matching to keep those downshifts smooth. It's exactly what you want in a performance-minded vehicle, let alone a 3-row SUV. Best thing about the motor is that it is a modern turbocharged V6. So what that means is you've got plenty of torque way down low in the rev range, and then it makes peak torque way up high in the rev range. Putting 400 horsepower, 415 pounds of torque, and a capable chassis in a 3-row SUV is kind of like giving a minivan a Red Bull sponsorship. There are multiple drive modes here, and it's basically configurable for any kind of situation. We've got tow haul, sport, which is what I tend to drive in, eco, which I never drive in, normal, which is the default setting when you start up this Explorer ST, slippery, so that's wet, icy, and snowy roads, and trail. Now, if we wanted to go off-road in this Explorer ST, we definitely need a more off-road oriented tire, because on this channel, we know it's all about the tire. I've yet to have a chance to drive it in any snowy conditions. Simply hasn't snowed of any significance during my week with this Explorer ST, and I'd really like to try it in some slippery, snowy conditions, because I think it would be a blast. The thing is, to get a whole bunch of acceleration, you really don't need to go foot foot to the floor with the throttle pedal. Even partial throttle gets you plenty of torque, and that's the beauty of this twin-turbo V6. With the all-wheel drive system, no matter what the condition, it is sure-footed pretty much everywhere. Doesn't display any bad behavior, and you can kind of tell this entire package has been carefully massaged by Ford Performance because it does exactly what you want it to do as a driver. Definitely the throttle mapping is a little more aggressive in sport mode, and that's what it's supposed to be, so it does feel a little quicker. That's actually not the case. It doesn't make any more power or any more torque in sport mode. It's just a little bit more responsive throttle mapping. If I could set sport mode to be default, I would definitely do that. I'd really like to try the rear-wheel drive version of this Explorer ST. Can't do it in Canada, maybe in the States one of these days, but I really appreciate what Ford has done there by making the rear-wheel drive available. It's kind of like saying, here's your dad car, but we made it fun now. Sure, the cynics will say, Ford built this to a price point, but they're missing the whole point here. Yes, there aren't adaptive dampers on this thing, and there aren't big 6-piston Brembo calipers on the front, but what Ford has done is carefully tuned the suspension and the brakes to deliver on the promise of a performance SUV. This suspension is extremely well sorted, and it does everything I want. Body and wheel motion is very well controlled here. There's no secondary movement whatsoever. Now let's find some corners, shall we? Here we go. I mean, you do feel that you're high off the road, but wow, this carves a line like no 3-row SUV should. Wow, very impressive. Brakes do exactly what I want. Pick up the throttle, corner, exit. Lovely. Coming into one of my favorite challenging corners because it's off camber on the exit. Let's see what's going on here. Great turn in. Wow, the all-wheel drive system, 4-wheel drive system puts down power perfectly on corner exit. Suspension soaking up these bumps. Wow. Impressive. Really well done, Ford Performance. One of the highlights of this Explorer ST in the corners is that you actually do get some decent chassis feel. You can kind of feel what's going on at the contact patch level. Very impressive. And that's also a great feedback loop so you understand what you're doing with this Explorer ST in the corners. Body roll is modest and it's pretty well controlled. I'm really impressed with how well tuned the suspension is. And sure, with these big meaty tires, and we don't have low profile tires here, we've got something with a little bit of compliance. We are in winters right now, but that contributes to a slightly better ride. And with a decent summer tire on this thing, I can imagine it would be just a blast. Now these roads are pretty crappy, and yeah, we've got the car kind of bobbing a little bit, but the roads around Toronto are just absolutely terrible. But it's not like these road imperfections are really causing any crash through. This ride is really well controlled. Very happy with the suspension. Now, when it comes to braking, these brakes are exceptionally powerful, and I've got decent control, feel, modulation. I'd give this brake pedal an 8 out of 10. Steering is, of course, electrically assisted, so there's not a lot of feel or feedback that comes through the wheel. Steering's very strong on center as well. Really appreciate that. I should mention that this does have BlueCruise, which is basically hands-free driving on divided highways, and it works exactly as promised, especially for those times when your arms are tired from doing all of that performance driving. Now, this transition here is always tough on a suspension. Let's see how it does. Just perfect. No secondary movement at all. The suspension just soaks up the bumps, settles this SUV perfectly. I describe this Explorer ST as agile, and that's despite the fact that it is a large 3-row SUV. It's agile from my perspective. I can throw it around, and it does exactly what I want it to do. It responds to all of my inputs like a proper performance vehicle should. How do you spec yours? Well, thankfully, this is an easy question to answer because there's just one important option that we need to keep in mind. What you are looking at is Star White Metallic Tri-Coat paint with the Onyx Active X interior. This one is all-wheel drive because it's a Canadian spec and they come all-wheel drive only in Canada. Base price in the US is $56,260, and as tested, this is $60,935. In Canada, base price is $69,035, and as tested, this is a little over $71,000 before freight and local taxes.
At around 50 grand, you're paying about $125 per horsepower. That's certainly cheaper than therapy. It's more practical than a Mustang, and it's way more exciting than whatever crossover your neighbor just leased. Plus, you can literally take the whole family to Cars and Coffee without renting a second vehicle.
In terms of speccing yours, well, I wouldn't get it in white. It looks too much like a police vehicle unless that's your thing. But if you live in a climate where you don't need all-wheel drive, definitely consider getting your Explorer ST in rear-wheel drive only. Certainly in this part of the world where we have winter, all-wheel drive makes a lot of sense. But if you can get away without it, I'd get my Explorer ST in rear drive only, and I'd probably spec mine in black. After a week with this Explorer ST, I think Ford has found a sweet spot between performance and practicality when it comes to SUVs. Sure, there are quicker and faster SUVs, and there may be more practical ones too, but few combine both attributes as convincingly at this price point. ST used to mean sport technologies, but I think now it means soccer practice, then track day.
Monday through Friday, it's hauling kids and groceries with a dignified digital dashboard. But come Saturday morning, it's out there with 415 pounds of torque, showing Mustang owners that parenthood doesn't mean you're missing out on all the fun.
The thing is, because it uses rear-wheel drive architecture and it's got a fantastic suspension underpinning this thing, it's very engaging from a driver's standpoint. Maybe the only thing I don't care for is this digital-first experience in the interior. But overall, this is an incredible value for a performance SUV. Thanks for hanging out with me today and having a look at this 2025 Ford Explorer ST, and I'm sure glad I finally got to drive an Explorer ST. Anyway, hope you liked this episode, and if you did, you know what to do. You're not new. Smash the subscribe button, turn on your notifications. Like this, and as always, sharing is caring, so please share this with your friends, especially on Reddit, because on Reddit, they really need to see reviews for drivers from drivers. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if you want to support the channel, please hit up our merch store. Links here, links below. Lots of great stuff for driving enthusiasts like us, including our very popular line of Save the Manuals merch, and Ford still makes manuals. Anyway, thanks again for watching. We'll see you again next time. And remember, cars don't understeer by themselves, not even Ford Explorer STs. And since you've hung around this long, we'll have a look at an episode of one of my all-time favorite Fords. It's not the GT, and I have driven one on the racetrack. It's the last GT500. Great car to drive, and I drove it on some great roads. I think you'll like that episode. See you again next time.